Hey, if you found your way back here, then I guess you watched the first video where I answered, I guess, the most popular questions that we've been sent recently. Last time, when we wrapped up, we'd received a great question from Darren and others, I think, that asked, here we go. I feel chained to my inbox and meetings. How can I reclaim my time for actual leadership in my small business? So Darren's feeling, oh, and Dale, right? They feel chained to their inbox. They feel chained to their meetings. How can they reclaim time for actual leadership in their small business? Okay, so first of all, terrific question, right? Second of all, I guess you're not alone, right? This is the modern leader's default state. At least that's what it feels like at the moment. Unless you fight your way out of it. Okay, so how are we going to do that? Well, step one, I guess, is audit your week. What does that mean? First of all, you're going to have to figure out, where does your time actually go, right? Most people are shocked. Meetings and email, like you say, Dale, like you say, Darren, they often eat up maybe 70% of the pie. So figure out how big the problem is. Step two, I guess, is categorize your activities, right? Think about it this way. You can only kind of live somewhere on the map that looks at, am I being reactive or proactive? Think of that as a kind of an axis. Am I being reactive or proactive? Am I being people focused or task focused, right? If you can kind of imagine those two axes, right? Maybe someone will drop an image in this video, I hope, right? You can only be somewhere in that map at any particular time. You're either being proactive or reactive, people focused or task focused. Well, guess where on that map leadership lives? And guess where management lives or lies? Are you finding yourself living in important but not urgent? Are you in that bucket? Maybe you need to start batching emails, batching calls, batching admin, turning off notifications perhaps. Maybe you don't, Darren, need to be available 24/7. Maybe what you do need to be is much more effective. So the next thing, I think, set expectations with your team. Tell them when they can interrupt, when they have to wait, when it's problem solving time. That's either with you or without you. And remember, your calendar is your strategy in disguise. And if leadership time isn't on it, then maybe you're not leading, you're just reacting. Now, lots of small business owners, they often confuse being accessible with being effective. They're not the same thing, are they, right? Constant availability undermines your impact. So, audit how you're spending your time. Track a week and try to start to identify what are the low value activities and which of them are consuming your attention and how much of it. And maybe you should implement what we recommend is implement owner time or leadership time and block it in your calendar, right? For different types of work. So create, really clear communication protocols. Which matters require immediate attention versus some stuff that can be scheduled for later. Establish response times, right? Expectations. How long do you have to answer every question within 15 minutes, right? Some clients maybe take preference over some other clients. These days, use technology strategically. You can automate notifications, you can use templates and scheduling tools. We use Slack to communicate, right? There's lots of ways you can do it. Just, you have to recognize, Darren, that your time allocation directly shapes your business model and your business growth trajectory. Now at MDL, at My Daily Leadership, we emphasize the transition from operator to leader. And we know that requires deliberate time management, although there is no such thing as time management actually, because because you can't manage what you can't control, and you can't control time. If there's no such thing as time management, what is it? It's behavior management. So you got to figure out, what are your habitual behaviors doing? What do they look like? You know, this issue just happens to be, seems like it's an epidemic at the moment. We hear this so often. I hope that's maybe helped a little bit. I hope that's landed, Dale and Darren. If you want to do a proper audit, you know, that stuff we mentioned earlier about time, about proactive, reactive, people focused, task focused, we've got a really, really terrific model for that. A great template. Just ask us, and we can either dive into it into our next video. We can send it to you, and you can check it out, and then call us if you need more. Okay, let's leave that for that. Thank you for that. The next one is a big one, right? It's all about, I guess, culture more than anything else, and culture is always important. This is from Nadine, right? Nadine sent us this sent this in from her 7-person team. So Nadine plus 7, I guess. Here's her question. How do I build a strong company culture with a small team where everyone has to wear multiple hats? That is a good one. Man, we're getting some good questions. Right. Okay. Nadine, thank you for that. Now, well, let's just think about culture for a second. Small business culture isn't about perks or formal programs. It's about, I guess it's the same with all business culture, right? It's about consistent values. Rather, it's about consistent values-based thinking, values-based behavior. Anything that's led by values, we're a big fan on. What does that mean? Well, start by, clearly defining the 3 or 5 core values that genuinely drive your business decisions. Not just, here are our values and they're now wall decorations, right? Or they're printed on the back of our business card or on our website, right? Figure out those core values and then model them like a lunatic, right? Model these behaviors, these values very visibly. Small teams notice every single discrepancy between what you say and what you do. We actually have a client of ours who's a big fan of the what you do speaks so loudly I can't hear what you're saying school of thought. We absolutely love that, right? And I think this applies here, Nadine, right? So incorporate values discussions into every kind of team meeting that you have, right? Share examples and reward examples of behaviors that have matched those values in action. Recognize them, celebrate behaviors that exemplify those values. Why? Because what gets rewarded gets repeated. Make hiring and firing and retention and promotion decisions based on those value alignment criteria. That really, in a small business, is a non-negotiable. I guess these days we can't go too far without talking about psychological safety, but create enough safety where the team members can speak truth to power without fear, right? That's essential for small team innovation. In small businesses, culture is a direct extension of the owner's behavior. So it starts with your leadership daily habitual habits, right? A strong culture becomes your competitive advantage over time when recruiting talent who might earn more elsewhere. Your values can actually make you attractive to others if you lead them, if you recruit them. Small but values aligned teams, right? Like 7 people, I think that's a good number. They consistently outperform larger teams, larger organizations with maybe fragmented cultures, right? So your small team can be hugely powerful. Hey, listen, I hope that helps for now. That's a good question, Nadine. That is a terrific question. Culture's what gives you leverage when salaries can't, okay? All right, let's see. Let's keep going. Let's see what's next. Okay, so, oh yeah, I like this one. This came in from a few of you, but I'm going to single out George from Topeka, Kansas. It seems to echo the sentiments of many at the moment, and it reads, I've just promoted a long-time employee to manage our team. How do I support their transition without undermining their authority? This is such a self-aware question, George. I blooming love this. And I'm glad you're asking it now rather than in 6 months' time when you've already done it. Okay, so like the operator to leader transition, it's a challenge, right? And it's a really important shift for small business growth. First, though, I think, George, you know what? This is a lovely problem to have if you think about it. So nice, right? Promoting from within, big fan of, right? It shows trust, it shows continuity, it gives people a path. It's great. So well done, George. Just don't mess it up, will you? But yeah, it can be awkward. 1 minute, they're kind of part of the team's Slack thread, probably talking about you, and the next minute they're expected to run the Monday meeting. So it's tricky. So first, I think it's important to recognize and talk about the shift quite explicitly, right? Not in passing. Have a proper conversation, maybe a range of proper conversations about maybe how your relationship needs to evolve, right? Now that they're managing others. I think be really clear and clean. Define what they now own, right? Make it really clear where their authority now begins and ends. Ambiguity breeds power vacuums. What does ambiguity mean? Anything that's ambiguous is open to more than one interpretation. Just make it really, really clear, because clarity breeds confidence. And as a leader, remember, we say it all the time, to be unclear is to be unkind. What else? Don't hover. Stop hovering, right? Don't hover in meetings that they're leading, right? Be present if necessary, if you have to. But, don't say too much. Don't speak unless you're invited. They have to find their own voice. Who was this? Was it George? Yeah, they have to find their own voice, George, and their own authority. Without you you already cast a long shadow, right? So don't cast it too much around them. Also, of course, 100% back them, at least in public, right? That doesn't mean blind loyalty, but it does mean that if you've got some feedback, give it privately, right? And carefully, right? Nothing undermines a new leader faster than their boss correcting them mid-sentence. So don't do that. I'm sure you wouldn't. When others try to sidestep this person, which they will do, George, right, and come to you, just redirect them gently but firmly back. That's one for George now. Have you spoken to her yet? You get the idea, right? Help them focus not just on task management, but on people development. That's absolutely key. It's a completely different skill set, right? Many first-time managers fall into the trap of becoming task machines. Also, if you can figure out how to give them a couple of early wins, not fake wins, they'll see through that, but real opportunities to lead and to be seen leading, right? That'd be great for them. Were you perfect when you first became a boss? Are you perfect every single day? I'm guessing not, right? What does that mean? It means expect a few wobbles. If you're not perfect, why do we expect them to be, right? It's a transition. It's a process. They're not a light switch, right? You're building a leader. You're not installing software, okay? First-time managers in business often struggle without kind of clear guidance on their new roles. So give that. Clarify decision rights. What do they own? What do you own? Be specific about which decisions they own completely versus which decisions maybe need some, consultation with you. Meet them regularly in private to provide coaching and support. Why? They need it now more than often, more than ever, more than you promoted them, right? Help them understand the difference between managing tasks and leading people. It's different. It's a completely different thing. Be patient with them. There's going to be growing pains. Leadership, your leadership development wasn't linear. If it's not linear for you, it won't be for them. Document the whole transition process. We always say that to create a leadership pipeline for future promotions as the business grows, so that you can set that kind of benchmark for what that looks like. I think that's what springs to mind at the moment, George. That was quite a few. Thanks for that one. Of course, we've got a great online program for new leaders. If that helps, reach out. We'll send you some details if that works. But, no pressure. All right. Next one is about motivation, right? And the budget. Okay. So this is by lots of leaders. Too many to mention. Currently feeling the pinch. It's a good one, this. It's not good, it's bad, but you get the idea. Business is tight right now and I can't offer raises. How do I keep my small team motivated during financial constraints? Great question. Tough one, right? Timely one for obvious reasons as well, perhaps. Look, financial rewards matter. Of course they do, but it's not the only lever. And in many cases, not even the most powerful one. There are around 12 levers of motivation, and money is only one of them, which means that leaves a lot of room for all of the other things. If you want the list and the full explanation, drop us a line, we'll send it to you. But look, first, be honest. Share the picture, the real picture, the whole picture, and also perhaps the plan to move it forward. Clarity reduces that kind of gossip. Plans reduce fear, right? So be sure to give people a real sense of purpose. Here's where we are. We can't do these things right now, including perhaps pay rises, right? These are the things that we're putting our money behind. This is why, this is what we hope to get out of it. And this is where leaders, right? Remind them too that their work really matters. That's important to people. Customers are relying on them, right? That gives them a sense of purpose. They're not just pushing widgets, they're solving real problems for real people. It might be important, if you can't offer raises, to increase people's levels of autonomy. Letting people make decisions within their zone is very motivating. It raises trust. Recognize effort genuinely and publicly. I keep saying this to our clients all the time. Just how much does a handwritten note cost you? Nothing. It works wonders. Maybe a Friday shout out or even just a quiet thank you that shows you noticed. People really appreciate that. Offer lots of development opportunities. Even if you can't give cash, you can give them growth and learning, maybe a new project, a chance to mentor someone, access to a course. We got loads of them, right? These kind of things help people. Remove friction where you can. In other words, reduce their frustration. That sometimes motivates people. And that's about making their job less aggravating and more worthwhile. And that helps raise the value of the role. Fix all those broken, frustrating processes. Upgrade the tools. Ask, what's one thing that's slowing you down this week, and then fix it. Just be consistent in caring for your people, right? Nothing deflates people like erratic leadership during a lean patch. Up, down, hot, cold, hot. People need consistency. Be steady, be clear, be present, be fair, right? Look, remind them this is a chapter, it's not the whole book, right? It's clear that often motivation dips when people can't see the end of the tunnel. Show them the end of the tunnel. Financial limitations can actually spark creative approaches to learn engagement that money can't buy. Imagine how strong they'll be, those that are with you at the end of that journey. it's crucial, connect daily work to people's personal motivations. And this creates meaningful purpose. People will endure lots of constraints and aggravation when the mission matters. Involve the team in also maybe finding solutions to whatever challenges the business is facing. Collecting problem solving builds deeper engagement, deeper connections, much more than top-down directives and a bit of cash, right? Look, as I said, in small businesses, motivation flows from connection. So spend time understanding each team member's personal drivers. Remember, how you lead through these constraints will be remembered long after the financial conditions improve, right? I think that's it for now. Look, if this was your question, because we had a few of those, I hope it helps. And if you're navigating really tight margins right now, motivation isn't all about cheerleading. It's about meaningful leadership, consistently applied over time. There's no quick fixes for cash, really, I'm afraid. But there will be some low-hanging fruit if you're smart about it and you all go for it together. Okay, look, for the purposes of time, let's keep going. Hope that helped. Let's go to the next one. I think we'll maybe only have time for one or two more. Here's a thorny one. This was on the old leadership perennial. Decision making. This is from Tasha and other founders who also like to be liked. Who doesn't like to be liked? Here's the question. How do I make tough business decisions that some team members will inevitably disagree with? Good one. Decision making is where you get paid to make decisions, right? This is where the leadership rubber meets the road, right? Particularly in small businesses where the impacts of any kind of decisions are often very widespread and often pretty immediate. Okay, so first of all, we've got to kind of develop some kind of consistent decision-making framework that kind of balances data with intuition, short-term with long-term, all of those kind of considerations, right? As our friend Mr. Cynic says, if we can demonstrate the why with some kind of model, that really helps everyone, including you, by the way, to understand it as well as to explain it to others. So I think we would do that. Models help align people, right? Even those few dissenters, Tasha. Involve the key stakeholders in the process without promising consensus. Gathering input isn't quite the same as gathering votes, right? I'm not asking people to vote for things. By the way, democracy is very bad in business, Tasha. Try not to run a democratic organization. Democracy works when there are lots and lots of voters and few options. That's how democracy works. Businesses isn't that. There are often lots of options but few voters. So don't fall into that trap when you're trying to get everybody to agree with you. Look, it's impossible to get 100% agreement. Your job as a leader is to try and get alignment, not agreement. So be transparent about the criteria that's driving your decisions. And you'll find, Tasha, they'll accept outcomes better when the process seems fair. I think when you're encountering difficult decisions, do acknowledge valid counter-arguments, right? Because it demonstrates respect maybe for some of these naysayers, right? For other people's viewpoints. I think, as we always say, if you can connect whatever the decision is to your business vision and mission and goals and values, the why matters as much as the what. So if people are complaining about the what, if they all agree with the why, it makes the what so much easier. Implement decisions decisively once you've made them, Tasha, because remember, you can't blow an uncertain trumpet, right? Once decisions have been made, Get on with it. Otherwise, you create uncertainty unnecessarily and friction and vacillation, and people don't need that, right? Make a decision, move, and course correct if you need to. That means monitoring the results, be willing to adjust course if data suggests. That kind of flexibility is important. The other team members who maybe think you should go another way, they might be right. They might be wrong. You may be right. But that flexibility, it's not a weakness. It's a real strength. It's okay to make a decision, figure out how you're going to measure it, figure out what good looks like, figure out what the early milestones for success look like, and then be prepared to course correct, right? Okay, decide what those course correction triggers look like, communicate a lot, and go for it like you mean it, right? I tell you what, Tasha, in small businesses, whatever your decision-making process looks like, that kind of process looks like, that becomes the template that others will follow as you grow. So be very, very structured about it. It's an opportunity to make real growth if done well. Daily journaling, of course, we always talk about that, especially about significant decisions. That creates for you a valuable record of your business evolution and leadership growth. So if you're not doing so already, start today. Go on our website. We've got lots of stuff that you can download there. Remember, the goal isn't universal agreement, which was maybe suggested by your question. It's about transparency and fairness and clarity and action. Action bias. Don't wait till everybody agrees before you move, Tasha. Start with a framework. Figure out how you make decisions. Is it customer first? Is it value led? Is it strategic alignment? Is it whatever it is? Share that lens with your team, and then they'll understand what it is that you're doing. I don't know what it's like wherever you're from. Where did you come from, Tasha? But in the UK, when we had maths exams, we were often asked to show your workings out, right? So just like that at school in maths exams, let them know what you're doing and why. Show them your workings out, right? Acknowledge that there are trade-offs with this decision, and you know that it will impact this, and you know that it's not ideal, but given A and B and C and D, this is sound a bit maths, isn't it? Knowing A and B and C and D, we're going to do X, Y, and Z, right? It's the best move for us for now. Remember, not everyone will love the outcome. That's okay. But most people, at least they'll respect it if the process has been well thought out. So, last to say, I think 100% own the decision, good or bad. Don't blame the board or the market or the weather right? Even if it's true, right? People trust leaders who take responsibility, follow through with confidence. Waffling erodes respect. Don't do that without wanting to sound too harsh, Tasha. And don't get grumpy with me for this, but leadership isn't a popularity contest. As an old boss of mine used to say, if you need lots of love and attention, don't go into leadership. Buy a puppy. Leadership is not the place to get your needs met. Hope that helps, Tasha. Difficult question, difficult answer, I think. Okay, what about those pesky long-time staff who resist change? God love them. Okay, so the first one like this that I read, it came from someone who signed off, and I love this, right? It came from someone who signed off as trying not to strangle John. Poor John. But I don't know what you've done, John. Anyway, here's the question, One of my longtime employees resists every change I try to implement. I'm guessing that's you, John. How do I get them on board without losing their historical knowledge? Well, good question. Change resistance in small business, well, in all businesses, but maybe especially in small businesses, really often masks some deeper concerns about personal value, perhaps, role security, perhaps. We're all somewhat resistant to change, so how resistant are they to change? Let's figure out what's at the root of this particular employee's resistance to change. You know, sometimes resistance is interpreted by the leader as defiance, but you know, maybe it isn't defiance. I used to have a boss that at the bottom of all of his agendas, he wrote, disagreement does not equal, you know, the equal signs with a line through it. He said, disagreement does not equal disloyalty. He really encouraged healthy debate and dissent. I love that, right? But some leaders think the resistance is defiance. It isn't. What is it? It's fear, really, I think, most of the time. Sometimes pride, right? And these team members often feel that change maybe is a threat to their legacy, right? Something that they helped build. Maybe they helped build a company that exists. If that's the case, your job is to honor that while still evolving the business, right? Recognizing that, but we've got to move on. So what does it start with? I guess it starts with empathy here. John's boss, okay? Please don't kill John. The police take a very dim view of that these days. Ask what John's real concerns are. And don't just do that once, and actually listen often. So ask often and listen often. A lot of the time, there's lots of insight in John's resistance. Let's not just keep making it, John, about anyone's resistance. There's often insight in the resistance. Then try to figure out how to link the change to the more larger overriding mission. Not your preference, the mission, right? And I guess the mission, anything that helps serve the customer better, we need to do this, right? So if it's the mission to serve the customer better, we need to do it. It helps John and others recognize that maybe it's time to change. Maybe get John part of the process, give them a key role in the change, make them part of the implementation, even if it's only small. You know, people rarely destroy what they've helped to build. And I promise you, John isn't driving to work in the morning thinking, what can I do today to really screw things up? They're not, right? They're not thinking that. So be clear about what's optional and what isn't optional. Respect doesn't mean ambiguity. Remember, every business runs on a set of guidelines, a set of rules, and a set of laws. If this is a law, treat it as such, and that includes John. Document what John already knows. That's not just useful, it signals that you value their contribution. But if you do lose John, then you lose John, right? Reassure people, right? But be firm. We want you with us, John. We value your voice, John. We recognize everything you've done for us, John. But this change is happening, John. And if you want to share how you can make it better, I'm all ears. What am I missing, John? And importantly, model that change yourself, right? If you're asking for adaptability, show adaptability. Start by genuinely understanding their perspective. If John is resisting every change, as it seems to suggest here, there's something more, there's something else going on, right? Resistance usually contains some insight. And it's normally about risk and fear, and figure out what's going on. Maybe focus your conversations on business rather than personal preferences. You know, market demands versus I want this, I want that, I want the other. Maybe it should be more about the market's demanding this, the market's demanding that, the market's demanding something else, right? With all of your customers, be clear about whatever the non-negotiable aspects of are, whatever the issue is, right? So there are some areas where, you know, input can shape the implementation, John, and there's some that it can't. I think also acknowledge the tension between valuable history, which John has, and necessarily evolution. Maybe John is worried about being left behind, perhaps, new technology, perhaps. stealing, the power base that he had, perhaps. But look, past and future are both necessary, right? And stress that both matter for business success. Maybe set some really clear expectations about adaptability as a core requirement for everybody going forward. This is not just an optional preference. And remember, the way that you handle resistance becomes your template for managing future changes as the business grows. This may be a coaching issue. Sounds like it is. How good a coach are you, John's boss, right? Coach them through the change curve. I think that's a video we'll certainly provide a video for that, I'm sure. The change curve is a real thing, right? Check that out. I hope that's a real good question, I think. Helpful one, that. Thanks, John's boss. Please don't kill him. Oftentimes, this is an important one, oftentimes your biggest cynic can become your best advocate, your best evangelist, if you handle it sensitively and assertively, not aggressively. Okay, I think that's that for that. Let's move from internal friction to external growth. Here's the question from Alia, whose business recently expanded from a regional to a national player. Well done, you. Here's the question. My business has grown from local to national with team members across multiple locations. Tricky. How do I maintain our close-knit culture at a distance? Great question. Tune in next time, I'll tell you how.